Hi everybody. This is Karen.
This is May,
We are
and
from
we are
Boomer.
Boomers to Gen Z.
Okay, so today we are talking about something a little more serious because not too long ago, I think May, you had someone who tried to self-harm himself, right?
Mm.
And it's not the first time we've heard about this. So let's dive deep into this and don't go away. So, May.
So when you hear the word self-harm, I've had a few experiences of people with self-harm. I've self-harmed. I remember like back in high school, I hate my life. Like moments. Um, it's such a like tricky one, right? Like I feel like there's so much judgment around it. So I just really wanted to get your opinion, like as a boomer from your era.
Okay.
What was
Question.
did self-harm exist in high school?
Yes.
Okay.
Also tried.
Also try.
Also
Okay.
tried.
What
Yes.
what drove you to it? What is the big emotional driver?
Um, when we hear all these things about self-harm, you notice that usually it's the teenage years come early 20s that tend to
Mm,
have this. I mean, I'm sure there are older groups of people, but I don't know. For me, that's the general age group that we hear of. Am I right to say that?
yeah,
Okay.
I
So
agree.
my take is that it has to do with when you're a teenager and we just want to please everybody. We just want
Mm,
everyone to like us. Um, and when we do not fit into social norms, or when we get bullied, or where we feel that we are not at that space where society can accept us. And because we are young and impressionable at that age, we are more easily influenced, easily affected by all these outside perceptions of what we should be and how we should be. And I
mm,
believe that's something that a lot of people have experienced and tried to self-harm. I hope this person didn't go through with it. That would be,
mm.
hopefully he's okay now. But it is a long process, isn't it?
I think so. And when I think back to the time when I did, I remember that I wanted attention from the person who was hurting me. I wanted that person to notice it.
Mm.
As if to say, like, please, like please stop already. Like I'm in so much pain.
Mhm.
And then I think there's two routes that you can take from there. Like the person notices, and then they don't care, and then you do something even worse to yourself. Or the
Mhm.
person notices they don't care, and you realize, you know what? I also don't care. I also don't care. This is painful. I don't
Yeah,
want to do it anymore.
right, right.
I think when you get into that state, it's very hard to like come out of it. I know of this one girl. I was very close to her in school, and she had I think there's a word for it where you like really hate your body
Mm.
dysmorphia.
Yeah, yeah.
So she used to just like really cut her thighs and her stomach, and it was to a point that it was like a habit. And then now until today she still has the scars because it was just so bad.
Right,
Like it didn't fully heal.
right.
And now she's talking about how much she loves her body. And when she talked about it, she said it's because, like, at the dinner table, like, her mom used to be like, oh, enough rice, like, so fat already, what? But the mom didn't mean it in, like, a
Yeah,
bad way. The mom was just like, it was like her mom's way of, like, loving.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
she just couldn't deal with it. And for the longest time, she didn't want to end her life for it until she went to university and she realized that she was pretty skinny compared to everyone else. So when
Right.
she got out of the house, she was able to actually stop. However, like I do know, like there was this one kid actually, my friend's older brother, he was Japanese and he passed away when we were in high school. He
Mm.
jumped off a building. Um, and until today, like nobody knows like what was really going on with him to push him to that point.
Mm.
And it's just so crazy to think that our mind is so complex that like we rather hurt ourselves than ask for help.
Yeah, I think again I'm going back to the fact that when you're at that teenage years, there is I don't have enough um evidence to prove it, but I believe that there is something where we have a hormonal shift at that time as well, where and also that we don't have that kind of maturity. So like your friend who felt that she was too big, maybe like you said, the mom doesn't mean bad. It's probably just saying, hey, don't eat too much, but it's her perception, her receiving to the ear was negative, and therefore she said, oh, you think I'm fat. And I understand because I had the same problem where my dad used to call me spud potato, and so I was a little chubby kid until 12, and then from 13 to about 18 I started um vomiting every meal to be as skinny as possible. So to a point where I was bulimic.
Oh
So
no.
and to a point where my throat, because I would tickle my throat to vomit after each meal, it was inflamed, and I was extreme anemic and was rushed to the hospital due to this issue. So it is such a, at that age, we are so impressionable. We want we want so badly to fit into that mold that society puts us into, like the way we have to be skinny, or we have to look this way, or we have to behave this way. And we rarely we find someone who, at that age, to be extremely confident and sure of himself or herself, right?
That's true. That's
Yeah,
true.
rarely. I mean, I of course they are obviously the Taylor Swifts of the world and all that, right? But um, most, I would dare say 80% of population will have um that self doubt, that lack of self-confidence, that we feel that, oh, we cannot deal with this. And so we do this to hurt ourselves because we think that this is what we should be doing. And then don't forget, you are also at the age where we are drama queens on drama kings. We fall into this, like, oh, I got to kill myself.
Yeah, yeah. I'm
You know,
gonna run away from home, slam the
exactly.
door.
Yeah, because we're so drama, and that's why I'm saying that
Everything is like heightened.
exactly. So is that possibility that during that age, that the immaturity, is that possibility that maybe there's some hormonal thing that is causing us to be so irrational? I don't know. I don't know. I'm not saying it's hormone. I'm just saying, is it
Is
possible?
it possible? I think I see that. And then like if we also compare it to that hormonal shift again in midlife,
Yeah.
it's like a similar surge, right?
Exactly. And it's like when women, when we after childbirth, there is again the hormone,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So my theory is, because there's not enough studies. We all know that now. There's the hormonal imbalance is always about men, never about women. And it only started in 1990s that they started studying the women's hormonal imbalance. So there's not enough real data to really see what is going on to us. But my point is, that's why I keep saying that turning 50 was one of those pivotal point for me, because suddenly there is that feeling of I'm confident. Okay, yeah, I'm putting on weight. I can't change that, but I'm healthy. I'm able to walk and get good food. So I'm not gonna fuss about it.
So like, how do you think that like you raised two like daughters, two strong daughters now. And I have a kid who is 5 years away from being a teenager. How can we how can we sort of like help like younger, like when we see teenagers, like how can we help them as adults? Like how do we ease that notions in their mind, you think? How did
Mm,
you do it?
That is an excellent question. I can only speak from all the mistakes that I did with my own children is that I learned that it's important not first off to listen to them. Just listen. Don't make judgment, don't make comments. Just listen to them first and let them ask for your help or your advice. That's number
Mm.
one. Number two is give them options, give them questions to think about. Like, are you not let's just say Zach comes to you and say, Mama, I don't feel that I'm muscular or that I'm strong and therefore no girls want to be with me and da 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 da. For me, if what you can say is, look, first off, you if someone loves you, they will love you for who you are, not who you can become,
Mm.
right? And that first off, any to accept any love outside, you need to love yourself first and who you are first before you can really appreciate the love from the outside. I think that's something that as a parent, that's or a mentor or a good friend to tell a younger person to love themselves first. Because when they love themselves, they won't think about self-harm.
Like I'm just thinking, like as a mom, right? Like when we see these, I mean, I'm still figuring it out myself. Like, I have really low days, so but it's okay. That's why we have therapists to help it out. So there was this one instance with Zach, and he was so upset about it. He was being constantly bullied by the same kid.
Mm.
And the bullying was like very snarky comments like, oh, like you're trying so hard to be Malaysian, you're actually British. And Zach was like, no, I'm like Indian, I'm like Malaysian. Like I have a Malaysian passport, but like because Zach speaks a bit differently, right? Like and that he can't speak BM. So he felt like, why am I getting bullied for traveling? Like, why is this a thing? And then he was also getting bullied because like oh, your mom's so young. Like my mom said that your mom is like a child. Da, 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 da. Da. And
Okay.
then Zach was like, so Zach really didn't like it. And I was like, how do I help him? Because I can't go and beat up his mom.
Nope. Nope, you can't.
So what I did was to just like reverse cycle the situation. I did what I could do and I arranged a play date where that kid was involved to
Okay.
give the kid like a positive experience of what, hanging out with Zach and me is like.
Right.
And now they're like best friends.
Right. Yeah.
So like I feel like, like when they have a problem, it's like we as parents, we can actually like manipulate our way around it to sort of like fix the problem. But then when I think about it, when he gets older, when he wants to attract girls and things like that,
Mhm.
I remember being given really good advice, but it wasn't what I want to hear. Like it was like, oh, of course, you just don't get it.
Yeah.
Like nobody loved you for who you are.
You don't know my life.
You don't know how it works. Um, and I know that all of that's gonna happen, but I think it's about making them feel confident about the right things, right? So that they feel full inside, so they don't feel like they are the problem, so they
Yeah,
don't harm themselves.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
I think
yeah,
it's
it's
our
gonna be
it will be tough, and
tough.
like you said, teenagers have this tendency, even when it's the most well-meaning advice on your part, if they don't want to listen, they just don't want to. So I find another trick that helps a lot is to have a trusted friend or aunt or family member that he or she resonate with, someone that he or
Mm,
she listen to, say what you need to say. So
mm,
sometimes, like, I find that if the same advice came from my husband, for instance, or my sister, they're open to
it is.
listen. Yeah, I can say the same crap, but they just go, oh, Auntie Sharon said that, and then I'm like, okay, fine. So
Okay, I think that's a good
yeah, because
piece of
sometimes
advice.
they yeah, it's just that they are more probably they're like they're more in tune to listening to the same advice, but you probably have to talk to that person and say, look, this is how I feel, and I hope that you can advise him that this is, so that you're in sync. You don't want the person to say something like totally out of whack.
Yeah, yeah, no, I think that's a good one. And like, it's always, I try to, like, when I'm around teenagers, I do this. Like, I try to champion them a lot. Like, so, like, even when I did workshops, they were always with around like 17 or 18-year-olds. These are like the A levels, they're going into A level programs. I noticed that they're the most, like, when I get in front of them, they're just like, okay, so what are you going to teach us?
Mm.
Whereas like actually adults are a lot nicer. Adults like are grateful that you're spending your time, but these brats are just like, yeah, so what do you want?
What do you
But
know
like
that
when
I
you
don't?
reach out to them about certain things, like, oh, that's a really cool phone case. Like, oh, so you're into anime? Or like, oh, like, how did you get your hair like that? Or like with the guys, like, oh, do you play any games? Like, then they open up a little bit more, like to make them feel seen for the things that they think nobody cares about.
Exactly. Yeah. And
Um,
which that's where the disconnect between whether it's a parent or child or an older person to a teenager. Because the problem with teenagers is they have a fixation that nobody understands them and nobody
mm,
gets. And then you have sometimes maybe more old school adults who refuse to kind of lower down their conversation level and kind of get each other, and that's where the communication starts to be out of whack. So going back to the self-harm and everything, it is if there's enough support from his or her base community and family to kind of say you are worth it. Okay, you may not be incredible how strong, but you can work on it. You may not be a genius, but you can work on this, but that doesn't mean you're a lesser person than someone else. So it's about that positive enforcement. But we talk a lot about positive enforcement, but you don't want to fake positive. Like you don't want
mm,
to over, there is a term I forgot, but over shower them with praises that doesn't make sense, because then it gives them this sense of fake confidence as well, and then when they get to the real world they realize that, oh, I'm actually not that smart or something. But
yeah,
yeah, there is a term I forgot what it mean, what's the term. But yeah, so that would be something. But it is crucial that if anyone who's listening to this podcast today, and if you find that you know of some young person who has um, signs of self-harm, so just to share a few signs is that if you notice that person has cuts, a lot of cuts around everywhere. I mean, around the body parts or
Arm, legs.
arms.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes it's hidden because they don't want you to find out, so they self-harm. Or they stop talking to you, just generally not looking you in the eye, not just retreating from their usual behavior. These are all telltale signs, and you should reach out because there is truth to the fact that mental health, especially with the young, has also risen over the years due to pressures of social media, pressures of school and education, even just general stress that you may think is not stressful, but for that young person, it is real for them. So don't mix, don't neglect that little signs and really look out for it.
I agree. I think that's a good takeaway. Something that we can act on and just be more attuned to. So many cries for help. We just need to listen.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes it's as I'm speaking for an older person, that when I see sometimes a young person, they get very reclusive, or they just keep quiet, and then in the first instinctive thing that I have in my head, oh, the person is so rude or not engaging, then I realize, oh no, that person is just being a typical teenager. It's just his or her behavior. There's nothing much. It's just a teenage phase that they are going through. And sometimes we just have to respect, because they are going through that physical change as well, isn't it? A lot of physical changes as well. Correct. So there you go, self-harm. I hope that we don't have to experience that again. But again, fundamentally, it's to look out for those signs, and especially have those conversations and instill a lot of confidence in them that they are loved and they are wanted.
Thank you.
All right.
This is all for entertainment purposes only. These are just our opinions. We're just talking on topics. Today was a bit of a heavy topic. If there's anything else you want to talk about, comment below and we will get on it.
All right. Thank you. And until next week, see you soon.